In TV's pioneering decades, nearly every town with a TV station had its own local kids program. And no city in America had more fun for a longer time than Phoenix, Arizona.
I lived in Phoenix, Arizona for over a decade, and I watched them every day. And even when I grew up and I was supposed to be too old to watch them, I still watched them because they were very hip. They always kept abreast of the times, and they were very hip. They were the Saturday Night Live before Saturday Night Live. They were the second city before the second city.
I got, $1.50, $2 an hour. I'm not going to put up with a lot of jibber-jabber, I'll be the clown, you be the kid. Just sit there and shut your mouths, that's all.
It was kind of like that clown on The Simpsons, only this was way before The Simpsons.
Kids are really sharp. They want to laugh, and if it's funny, it's funny.
They are the pioneers of television.
Something like that.
They forged a relationship with the audience unlike anything television has ever seen.
All right, why don't you demonstrate for us now the way you fight, the way you...
This Phoenix Kids program, called Wallace and Ladmo, ranks among the most popular local children's shows in the history of American television, beating the competition for nearly 40 years. A show that wasn't afraid to lampoon anything.
Trying to protect the frame and face here.
Okay.
Smash and crush. And scratch sometimes. Little kick.
You're tough. You are tough. No.
It was a fun job. Yeah, I can't think of anything connected to it that I didn't like. Oh, celeries. That's the only thing. Those cheapskates down there at Channel 5.
They weren't trying to teach us anything. They weren't trying to give us any morals or present any lessons. It was just for laughs.
The series began in 1954 with just Wallace doing bits by himself.
Glad to see you. Where have you been? Welcome.
Within a few months, Wallace added a sidekick, Vladimir Kwiatkowski.
Ladmo, what are you doing?
I'm shaking hands with an octopus.
Whose childlike persona made him an instant hit.
Glad to see you. Hello there.
The show hit full stride in 1960 when a young Pat McMahon tuned in Wallace and Ladmo for the very first time.
And my first thought was, oh, not another one of those local kid shows where somebody in the sales department has a sock on his hand, hello boys and girls, and tells everybody about dental health.
I'm here to talk about seal-faced ice cream.
But then McMahon saw Wallace and Ladmo do something completely unexpected. They ridiculed their sponsor.
Good, not great, but good.
Wallace would sometimes kind of make fun of the product, or he'd try and drop kick it somewhere or something. And even as a little kid, you knew, that's just not right. You're not supposed to do that.
I'm afraid to ask what that is.
I collect.
Soon Pat McMahon talked his way onto the show, and he never left. Over the decades, Wallace would create dozens of funny and irreverent characters, and Pat McMahon would bring them to life.
Now it's time for some of my award-winning captions.
A superhero on the Wallace and Ladmo Show need only be two things: not super in any way, nor a hero.
I'm going to ask you about that.
I told the laundry no starch.
Let's have a big hand for Boffo the Clown.
Like many kids' shows, Wallace and Ladmo had a clown. But Boffo didn't fit the usual clown mold. The character's only real motivation was money.
Boffo, how do you personally feel about the kids?
It's a buck. If anybody calls me, I'll show up. They need a clown, I'm it.
Yeah, what about the birthday parties? How do they work?
Yeah, actually, that's where your big bread is. Your birthday parties, that's where you pick up a lot of coin.
I don't think Lad or Pat or I ever thought any clown was funny. So our clown was going to be a little different. He hated kids.
As long as they keep it down, as long as they don't scream and yell and laugh and giggle, because that really frosts me, man. I have fed up to here. I got, $1.50, $2 an hour. I'm not going to put up with a lot of jibber-jabber, I'll be the clown, you be the kid. Just sit there and shut your mouths, that's all.
Arizona's Wallace and Ladmo succeeded because its humor appealed to teens and adults as well as children. The transition from local children's host to national celebrity was not uncommon. Merv Griffin hosted Miami's Lucky Duck Show. Ted Knight starred on Children's Theater in Providence, Rhode Island. The Soupy Sales Show began in Detroit. Adam West got his start on the Kinney Popo Show. Willard Scott hosted 3 different kids' shows in Washington, D.C. While many performers learned their craft on children's shows and then moved on, others made the decision to stay. In Phoenix, the stars of the popular Wallace and Ladmo Show faced a key decision in 1963. When one of the show's stars, Pat McMahon, did a skit, a parody of the Beatles, that was just a little too good. Called Hubcap and the Wheels, Pat McMahon's joke band actually scored a real hit record.
It beat the Beatles on the local charts. It was the first time that anybody had been in #1 in that period of time, except the Beatles. Well, we had no idea what to do with that.
Soon, Hubcap and the Wheels were making national TV appearances. Capitol Records signed them to a recording contract. A movie was planned. Pat McMahon had a choice to make. Teen heartthrob in Hollywood, or back to the kids' show in Phoenix.
We said, okay, wait a minute, guys, what do you want to do? Do you want to be 45-year-old Wheels? Or do you want to do the Wallace Show? And we just loved doing the show. We just loved doing the Wallace and Ladmo Show. So they let us out of our contract.
McMahon returned to Phoenix, and the Wallace and Ladmo Show would settle into a decades-long reign as one of the most beloved local kids programs anywhere. By the late 1970s, local kids' TV shows were on the decline. The new laws banning host selling had cut deeply into the bottom line, and cheaper syndicated fare was now widely available. The era of the hometown TV cowboys and pirates and clowns had come to an end. Almost.
Come in!
In Phoenix, the Wallace and Ladmo Show was bucking the trend, still going strong through the 1980s. One key to the show's continuing success was a character named Gerald.
That was your responsibility. You invited these little jerks down here. You got them out of the alley where they usually hang out.
Those are Cub Scouts, boy.
Played by Pat McMahon, Gerald was a self-important snob who audiences loved to hate. While most kids' shows had a friendly hero, very few had a villain. And on Wallace and Ladmo, the villain had girlish hair, wore short pants, and annoyed everyone.
What are you talking about?
I didn't know you were in the Boy Scouts.
Bite your tongue. I'm not a Boy Scout.
Girl Scouts?
Boy Scouts are for ordinary common kids. I am a child guide. That's for rich kids. As you know, I'm very, very wealthy. Yeah?
When the Gerald character made his first appearance in 1963, no one was sure if he would catch on until Gerald appeared on a Saturday stage show, an event that got out of control.
It was a huge crowd.
Gerald came out and read the rules to the kids. Do not look at him directly in the eye. Do not speak to him unless he speaks first.
If this crowd does not treat me like the star I am, I'm walking off this stage and going home.
And the kids were hysterical, and they began throwing things and charging the stage.
They were really mad.
Somebody with a bizarre sense of humor had passed out pickles. And a 9-year-old with a gigantic gherkin can be a very dangerous part of your audience.
They attacked the stage trying to get at Gerald.
And they tore part of the stage down.
Part of the platform came down. So we thought we better put him in the truck.
I remember somebody escorting me to the cab of a pickup truck that was behind the stage. And the kids began to rock the thing back and forth.
And the kids start rocking the truck. It was a pickup truck, and you could see them in there.
And by the way, Wal and Lad were on what was left of the stage, laughing hysterically, pointing and thinking, wait, we could do this every weekend.
So I said to Lad, geez, I think we're on to something here. This guy's really terrible. They really hate him. This is wonderful.
The show now had its arch villain, a perfect counterpoint to the likable Ladmo.
He was the greatest thing we ever had on the show.
Is there any better example of how not to behave? And if you do behave that way, look what he gets. Everybody despises him.
You know what you're missing right now on PBS?
No.
Huh?
No.
I could be home watching the life cycle of the snowshoe hare, but no.
Eventually, the stars of Wallace and Ladmo retired, and the show ended its run in 1989, as popular as ever.
I have
Yes.
a poem that I'd like to recite.
Gerald has a poem.
Wait a minute.
The kids are pretty smart. And you don't want to talk down to them.
I think all of us who worked on that show and everyone who watched it pretty much knew that an era was coming to an end, that we would never see anything like this again.
While the programs themselves are all but gone, the legacy of the local children's TV shows continues. Woven into the fabric of the national consciousness, a part of our lives every day. Thanks to the pioneers of television.
For more insider features about your favorite TV stars, stories you won't hear anywhere else, visit pbs.org. To order this program or the full Pioneers of Television series, visit us online at shoppbs.org or call us at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.